As a research engineer, I can't help but obsess over how much waste we create in our lab every single day. Hundreds of disposable items just used once and then tossed. And it's just not my lab. It's every lab, in every university, in every country. We say ourselves that we are contributing to science, serving humanity. But what happens all this waste that we leave behind? It's almost a reflex at this point. In our daily lives, we constantly throw away things. But do we ever think, what happens to our trash? Where does it go? Does it just disappear? When properly managed, most of your trash ends up in landfills, where it just sits, waiting to rot. Of course, during this process, it's releasing toxic liquids and gases, poisoning, polluting soil, groundwater, and air. And studies even show higher rates of cancers and birth defects in the communities living near landfills. When it doesn't end up a landfill, your trash ends up somewhere else in the environment. A huge amount ends up in rivers, oceans, either floating around like a plastic soup or covering the ocean floor. And about 85% of it are plastics. Wildlife suffers the most, especially the marine life. Some of them get tangled with plastic pieces, left impaired. Some of them eat plastics, mistaking them for food. And some of them eat animals that already ate plastics. Even though this is very heartbreaking, it is very easy to feel detached from this problem. Because at the end of the day, I'm not eating plastics like a bird, or I don't live close to a landfill, so why should this problem bother me? Because plastics made their way up to us in the food chain. We all eat plastics and don't even know it because they're in microscale. Microplastics have been found in fruits, vegetables, meat, honey, water, both bottled and tap. Some studies suggest that we are consuming about a credit card's worth of microplastics every week. Some of them says per year, but regardless, you wouldn't want to take bite out of your credit cards any day. And even the air we breathe has microplastics, etching from car tires, etching from our synthetic clothes. And plastics do not always just leave your body. Microplastics have been found in almost every part of human body. Livers, lungs, hearts, kidneys, testicles, placenta, even in breast milk. Some plastic products are already designed to be so small, like microbeads in face washes, but the rest of them are degrading from bigger size plastics. With sunlight, heat, mechanical stress, they break down into micro and eventually nanoplastics. So small that they can pass into your cells and circulate in your bodies. Think about this. A hair strand is about 100 micrometers thick, and a nanometer is 100,000 times smaller than that. But how come something so small can harm you, right? Well, materials at this scale do not behave the same. Think about nanotechnology. We have a whole field researching the materials' behaviors of this scale. So plastics at micro and nanoscale are more reactive. They can easily bind with heavy metals, pesticides, and a bunch of other pollutants and bring them straight into our bodies. Not only that, but as plastics degrade, they shed chemicals. The industry uses about 13,000 different chemicals as additives during the production process, and at least 4,000 of them are known endocrine disruptors, which means they interfere with your hormones. And the rest of these chemicals, we don't know what they do. So we are facing with both physical and chemical threat here. And even though the exact disease-causing mechanisms are yet to be explored, we have enough research to be alarmed. Microplastics are suspected to be linked with various cancers, Alzheimer's diseases, heart and kidney diseases, and fertility issues. A study published just a month ago showed a correlation between dementia and amount of microplastic in the brain. Same study showed that 50% microplastic increase in the brain of the deceased people compared to ones died 8 years ago, meaning the accumulation rate might be horrifically fast. Another study from a year ago reported that nearly 60% of the patients who undergo heart surgery had microplastics in their main arteries. And those who did were 4.5 times more likely to experience heart attack, stroke, or die 3 years after the surgery. And maybe infants are even under higher threat, since some studies are suggesting up to 10 times higher certain microplastic types in babies' feces than adults. Because think about it. Think about all the plastic toys babies scratch their gums with, or drinking milk warmed up in plastic bottle, or crawl all around the house, because even your household dust has microplastics. But if they are so dangerous, should we just ban them? Before you decide them to be evil, I want to tell you that electricity, cables bringing electricity to your home, pipes and filtration systems bringing you fresh water, fiber optic cables connecting you to the internet, refrigerators keeping your food safe, all heavily rely on plastics. Airplanes, fighter jets, spacesuits, artificial organs, heart valves, bionic limbs, even renewable energy depends on plastics. Wind turbines, solar panels, none of them would be possible without lightweight, durable plastic components. Think about how much plastic parts does your car have. Without that, your car would actually weigh much more and consume more gas, which in return is more dangerous for the environment. So you see, plastics themselves aren't the problem. So how can we coexist with plastics then? Recycling? Recycling is absolutely great. We should put all effort into it as much as we can. But it's not the miracle solution that we think it is. Look around you. Do you see any recycling bins here? How many of you used the recycling bin during past week? How about past month? Well, the reason that recycling is not, the main reason recycling is not working for us is not because we are terrible at separating our trash, so you can feel a bit better about yourselves. When plastic is recycled, it loses quality, so it's not exactly like metal recycling or glass recycling. If anything, we are talking about downcycling here. Only 9% of all plastics ever produced recycled only once, and only 1% of it recycled twice. And there are so many types of plastics. Not all of them are the same. Most of them cannot even be recycled. And if they are contaminated with food, beverages, bodily fluids, or other chemical pollutants, they cannot be recycled. Mixing different types of plastics together or plastics with other materials also making recycling process very difficult. And even one contaminated item at the recycling center can send all batch to waste. And this is basically why making new plastics are cheaper than recycling old ones. And this is the main reason why recycling hasn't been solving this crisis. We have the option of incineration, but carbon emissions are too high, and even then, only 20% of the waste has been managed this way. So we clearly need a different approach. Researchers are exploring better plastics, plastic-eating microorganisms, but we cannot rely on a miracle solution like that. Because even if scientists announced a breakthrough tomorrow, just today, we have 9 billion US tons of plastic that will continue to degrading into microplastics for centuries and centuries. Imagine 9 million US tons is a bit abstract, but think about this. If each of us weighed 2,000 pounds, plastics would still be heavier than all humans on Earth. And we are only producing more and more. By 2050, plastic production numbers are expected to hit 1 billion tons per year. And even when very first plastics have been created, probably still sitting somewhere on Earth, we cannot keep accumulating at this pace. Imagine a world where there is no city to collect your trash. You have to keep owning everything you have. Every cup, every wrapper, every plastic bag. When you buy a candy bar, you are not just buying the chocolate, you are actually committing to the wrapper too, and same with everything else. Imagine a collection of empty containers in your home. Empty food wrappers, dirty food wrappers, take-out boxes, ear swabs. Think about how much trash you would end up with after having a single barbecue party, unless you offer your guests real plates. So in this world, you wouldn't want junk piling up in your home, so you would want to avoid unnecessary packaging, short-lasting fashion trends, or cheap gadgets just break within months. Instead, you would try to get things that are reusable and long-lasting. You would try to repurpose and repair things as much as possible rather than having them sit at your home as a garbage. And this world that I just described to you is actually our reality. The only difference is that the garbage piles are out of our sight. And that's exactly why we need to stop creating more waste. It's obvious that covering everything with platinum would be wasteful, or using uranium everywhere casually would be disastrous for our health. But it is very easy to skip this kind of thought process with plastics, since they are very cheap. Although they are inherently very durable, and plastics are created to last, they are meant to last. Yet we use them in things that are meant to be thrown away very often. So the smartest approach here is to use them where they are actually needed and cut out where they are not. There's a critical decision-making process we all need to apply in our daily lives. We should ask if the value I'm getting out of this product outweigh its cost. Everything comes at a cost, which is beyond money. I'm talking about the long-term consequences. Does it worth the pollution? Does me having a single meal worth creating a huge bag of trash? Does me drinking bottled water worth possibly choking a fish? Of course, as we continue to exist, we will be creating waste of all kinds. But cutting out the unnecessary ones will give us room to compensate for the ones that will actually save our lives. Like, think about single-use syringes, injectors that are preventing contamination. Think about all the resources we have to use for this problem we created absolutely out of thin air. We could be rather spending our time trying to make better aerospace plastics than trying to make better grocery bags. We could be channeling all the efforts into decreasing the footprints of the technologies that are actually making our lives better, ones that heal us, ones that connect us, ones help us travel around the world, and that will take us to Mars one day. This is what sustainability is all about: avoiding wasteful behavior and using our limited resources as most efficiently as possible. Sustainability is that simple. Policymakers and businesses have crucial roles to play, yet, rather than waiting for others to take measures, start protecting yourselves. Protect your kids and families. you can decrease your amount of exposure. And the good thing is, every step you take to protect yourself will in return benefit everyone else too. Start simple. Limit plastics in your kitchen. Try to choose natural fibers for your clothes. Bring your own reusable bag when you go out shopping, and don't buy things just because they are cheap or free. There is always a better option, even though you are not aware of it right now. A quick Google search will show you countless measures and small changes that you can make to protect yourself. So, to summarize, reduce, reuse, and when all else fails, recycle. Thank you.